Well, so great to be here with all of you, and thank you, Carla, for helping kick all this off. And I'm really excited about to talk yet again about my favorite subject, which is memoir writing. And some of you saw us in another presentation the other day about the new course that's coming. And we realized that, there's so many questions that people have. Um, it can be such a challenge to write a memoir. And so we thought we'd just do this hour-long let's talk kind of conversation about all kinds of things. And we came up with a list of at least some of the, oh my God, I can't deal with this kind of questions. Like what about family? Truth. Do I have to write everything? Questions about truth, how to deal with writing about real people, publishing, legal concerns, and so on, professional issues that come up. So we are opening this up. And Carla, how do you suggest people put up their virtual hand, do you think?
Yeah, you can. I am in gallery mode, so I can see your real live hand. I'd love it if everybody would be on camera. It's more fun for us that way. Or you can use
You
that
can.
raise hand down at the bottom. So we've got, woo, some hands went up. Yay. All right. I think Julene is first in line here. Why don't you go ahead and ask us your question and
We'll go from
we'll
there.
try to help.
Hi, Jolene.
I put a little blurb in the chat. It's a technical question. In my memoir, in my work, I was very involved with the public health department here in Seattle. And in 2011, so I'm talking about from 1991 to 2009, to 2009, or no, till later actually, but they changed their name. So in my writing, it was the old acronym or the old name, Seattle King County Public Health, but they changed their name to Public Health of Seattle King County. So the acronym totally changed. Am I legally, do I have to use the new one, or do I have to use the one that was in time correct? That's my kind of question about something like that. How does time changing names work in a memoir?
Well, I mean, my first comment is I can't offer legal advice, but I can say that the woman working for that organization at that time would have known it by a certain name and have referred to it, and the colleagues would refer to it by a certain name. So as the character in the story, probably I think it needs to be accurate according to that time frame. However,
Okay.
it doesn't prohibit you from putting in your author's notes or in your bio in the back or some other place that this is now the new name if you feel that that's important. But again, I don't know if it's a legal requirement.
Okay, that's helpful.
And I just put in the chat, I always refer to helensedwick.com, and I put that in the chat. She self-published her book. She's an attorney, and she wrote the Self-Publisher's Guide to Legal it's a handbook, the Self-Publishing Legal Handbook. And, it's the second edition. So get the second edition, not the first edition.
Okay.
And she's also very good about answering questions online and in her blog if the answer is not in the book. So get the book. It's definitely, a very informative, and it also helps you relax about legal issues.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
We had her speak at the National Association of Memoir Writers a few times. And, she's a wonderful, warm, friendly person and an attorney.
Okay, great.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you so much.
question. Okay, Denise, what is your question? You are muted.
She's looking.
Okay, how's that?
Good. Oops, you're muted again.
She's in the car.
Okay, there we are. Not driving, parked.
Glad you stopped.
I always wonder about publishing part of a memoir or part of the writing online before things are complete, or um, do they need to have a legal stamp on them? Copyright. I wonder about those kind of things. Because I think before you had said something about if you're gonna put part of it out there, only put like 60% or something like that. I thought I had heard that.
Well, some of your writers do this, Carla. How do you recommend that they handle it?
I'm a big believer in putting your writing out there in like third draft form, so that you can get real live feedback from people you know and people you don't know. Um, on your writing, you can start doing that thing called building your platform, which is the dirty word of authorship. But I believe in doing it as you go, because it's a lot more fun to write in community with a writing group, a writing cohort, writing partners, beta readers, which are early readers, people who randomly find you on your blog, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, wherever your people are, and sharing while you're writing, instead of writing your book and going, oh, my book is edited, I'm ready to publish. Now, how do I market?
Right. I know. Yeah. Well, when people say out there, it can mean various things. Now, some people are serializing their work, on Substack and on their blogs. The only issue that can come up if somebody wants a traditional publisher and they say, often it's fine, but sometimes they say, or you're submitting to magazines, they'll say, is it already published? If it is on your blog, most of the time it is considered already published. And so they might not accept it, or they might. They make these decisions in-house, But Carla's talking about, okay, like in the writing group that goes with the course, there's going to be other people and people deciding what to share and giving each other polite and supportive feedback in that course. And so it really opens up your mind. Oh, how does somebody else read this portion? Or did they misunderstand that? Oh, that's not what I meant. But you don't know, for a long time how other people are receiving what you're putting. And when you write a memoir, your entire story and all the movies that go with it are in your head. And it's hard to know objectively for a while. Have I included enough? Did I include too much? Are there enough details for the reader to, like in a scene, inhabit my body and mind and let me take them through the experience and feel all the emotion connected to it? So you get that kind of feedback, and this course will offer you that.
Thank you, guys.
So share away. I hope you're going to share in some way.
Yay.
And I
Yes.
just want to add that there's two ways to share. There's sharing with your writing group first, and then your peer group and your beta readers, and really hone your writing, and then submit writing to journals, anthologies, things like that. If you are aiming to traditionally publish, they don't want it to all be out there. Can you just reiterate that, Linda Joy? They don't want it all to be out there in your
Yes,
blog.
right. No, they don't. They
Right.
want to have the sparkling new piece that they're going to present, in their under their banner. But that's some of the, kind of higher end, pickier, magazines and journals. Things are changing all the time, however, I hear, but it's safer. I mean, and also you're going to write different drafts of your pieces that you put out there. And one draft may be very different than another one, and it could have a different title. It could have a different beginning. It could have a different set of things that go on around a similar incident or something. And so our writing, when you're writing about something in particular, you might come at it this way. You might come at it this way. You might have a different voice. You might have a different point of view, which is something to think about when you are writing, because the thing you're writing doesn't have to be the final thing forever on earth. that you write about that particular important moment or event. So there's lots of room for creativity too in all these pieces.
Okay, so I'm doing a complicated maneuver in the car here, but this goes along with the publishing chapter. So I'm about half or three quarters away through my memoir. I had my first chapter accepted in an online literary magazine.
Congratulations.
Well, I actually withdrew. All the issues are behind a paywall, so there's not a huge platform builder.
Okay.
But I really panicked because, I mean, since it's the first chapter, it's a chapter I would intend to show agents. And I think the contract was relatively standard. They wanted first global electronic rights, and indefinite but non-exclusive rights to the internet.
Oh, really?
And an obligation to, yeah, and then an obligation to credit them. And I was afraid that it may scare publishers, especially since, or agents, either or, especially since it was my first chapter. And the editing staff on the magazine was, I think, inexperienced. So I tried to go kind of back and forth with them, but it didn't go anywhere. So I withdrew. So I guess for the future, because I've submitted it elsewhere, I wondered, about, those kinds of terms and, whether they're standard, because I know the idea of getting it out there, building that platform, but at the same time, I didn't want to shoot myself in the foot for the future. Yeah. So what do you suggest?
Well, Carla, I want you to chime in. I mean, I will, first thing I'll say is, oh, good that you withdrew it. I mean, the first clue is forever rights, and like they own it, and they're locking it into their own bank vault, and no, but Carla, go ahead.
Well, let me address something that's going on in the chat. It looks like Helen Sedgwick, no G, has retired her blog, but you can still get her book. Helen Sedgwick is a different writer, so just want to clear that up. So I will reach out to Helen because I haven't talked to her in about a year. So regarding that, I don't really know the legacy traditional publishing world. So I don't know what agents and publishing houses think about putting out your first chapter, but I don't think a first chapter is so often a lead magnet for your book, and
well, but they wanted all the rights is the problem, I think,
Yeah, they wanted all the rights. That is, I mean, if they were paying you a couple $1,000s, for the story, that might be different, right? And then you would have a very prestigious credit.
Were they going to pay you?
Magazine.
No, I mean, like $10, $10 or $15 or something like that.
You can see how writers are valued by just that statement.
Yeah, and the fact that it's also behind a firewall. If I were going to publish something, I'd want to publish it with a bigger bang than that.
Yeah, especially with all the conditions. Well, you have good instincts, Mary Beth.
Yay!
Thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Julene, I think, is next.
I went already.
Oh, okay. Let me lower your hand.
Andy Gordon is next.
So Mary Beth, I'm going to lower your hand. Andy, here we go.
Thank you.
What is your question?
My question is on dialogue. I've read on some places that it has to be very accurate, but how can it possibly be accurate if it took place 30, 40 years ago?
We have to define what accurate means.
Yeah.
Accurate means, in my definition and most memoir writer teachers, it means that you are doing your best in a dialogue passage to put forward the emotional truth of what was going on in that exchange, and your best guess as to what was said. Of course, nothing is recorded. But you know, if you have two characters and there's a certain situation, for one thing, dialogue also needs to not be, oh, hi, good morning, how are you? Fine, I'm fine. You know, none of that stuff. But a dialogue occurs usually between people that have something to talk about that's perhaps a conflict or a difference of opinion or something that needs to be sorted out. Otherwise, dialogue is actually boring, you know. And so just do your best to make it emotionally true.
Oh, I love that.
From
Great
your
answer.
point of view. Yeah.
I love that answer. It's fabulous. Thank you so much. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
I was reading Wild by Strayed. I
Yes.
can't remember, Cheryl Stray.
Cheryl Stray.
Thank you to you, Linda Joy. You introduced me to that book. And she had a disclaimer that I thought was, I'm sure this is a legal question, but I'm writing about my ex-husband and I don't want to use his name. I don't want to maybe describe him as he is. How does that disclaimer help with that?
Well, almost everybody who writes a memoir has a disclaimer and an explanation of some kind about how many that they in fact did change people's names, that they sometimes talk about using composites where characteristics of different people were combined for the sake of the plot, excuse me. And so again, you'll get somebody's help when it comes to that for you. Again, with your ex-husbands, I mean, the issue is, are they identifiable and all that? But let's see if Carla's connection with Helen Sedgwick works out, because these are the kinds of questions that have to be answered by an attorney. And also when you're done or closer to done, you know, you just hire an attorney to vet the manuscript.
Okay.
With all those questions.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I know one, maybe two affordable literary attorneys who will do
Oh,
that. So when you're
okay.
ready, let us know. We can hook
Perfect.
you up. We can hook you up, because some
Oh.
of them, if you look online, they're super expensive. They're entertainment attorneys, and you know, they're movie people, and they're so expensive.
We know a couple, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great
Mhm.
information. Appreciate it.
It's a relief to know that, in fact, the attorney can help you vet the manuscript and
Yeah.
answer all of those legal questions. I mean, sometimes people have ethical questions like, should I really have written about my aunt that way? Or, you know, oh my God, what will people think when they read how I described them? And that's just something we all have to work out, each of us, with the people we know, or alive or dead, or their relatives, you know, and yet we want to be honest and truthful. But, you know, there's ways that we can use words to make things a little fuzzier, like the Zoom camera can do. It takes away some of the tiny details that, you know, that just maybe they don't need to be there, you know. So there's finessing of things more toward third, fourth revision layer. But that will happen if you keep going, though, you'll get to that.
Thank you.
Well,
And I'm going to drop a link in the chat to my conversation with a literary attorney on copyright, but he's one of the ones that I just love him. His name is Joseph Perry. So I'll drop that link into the chat so you can have him for future reference and also learn about copyright stuff.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
You're welcome. Esther,
hi, Esther.
you're on.
Hi, Linda. Hi. So yeah, I'm asking one of those family kind of questions, and I'll preface it by saying that I've learned very late about some information about my family that I didn't know, and learning about it late made me angry that I hadn't known it earlier, etc. So thinking about my story, there's if you're going to say something if you're going to write something that's going to be shocking to your loved ones, do you warn them before you write it that this is coming? And I'm not 100%. See, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to include this information, but if I do, it would be very shocking to my children who never knew about it. So what do you do with that?
Well, okay, because I was going to say, how close are you to these loved ones?
Very.
And
My kids.
it's about finessing a conversation. I mean, it's not published yet, right?
No, it's not even written.
Oh, well, then wait and write. Just, just write it. Do you want their permission, essentially? It's
This
part
whole
of your
time.
story. I would guess it's part of your story, and the reason to include it in what you're writing is that it affected you in some way or another that matters. You know, that's the reason to include it. So my
That's
guess
exactly.
is, Esther, knowing you, that I think you need to feel permission in yourself first to just write your truth, really. From a few conversations we've had before, I just want to support you in that. And my guess, I don't know your children, but my guess is that they'll absolutely understand and empathize with you. And you know that you'll, you know, if you're close to them and you just say this is how it affected me, and they'll be like, oh well, we didn't know. But I can't imagine them blaming you because they're grown up. They'll understand why you didn't tell them then. Most
when they were in
people
high
would
school.
not. They would not. You know, that's a normal motherly reaction, very sad and hard on you, you know. And they might even celebrate you for getting rid of that stupid secret, you know, and being freer. So think about it. Everyone has to decide for themselves.
Yeah.
But I think you've been struggling with this for a while, and I think that maybe the big thing here is to give yourself permission to write all of your truth, and then when you get a draft done, you can decide how it's coming out toward the world. But writing it first, you may need to write every detail. I know people who've written about sexual abuse and I'm one of them, needed to write every detail because, you know, it was like that. And then gradually, when it comes time for publication, oh, you go, well, I don't think I need all that detail. The reader gets it, you know. But I mean, I often when writing about trauma or secrets, we just need to get it out of us and onto the page and kind of really get it out and claim our whole personhood, because something like that takes it away.
Wow, you got me with that. That's, yeah, I think most of us have trauma that has been unspoken. And so thank you for sharing that, Esther.
Yes, very brave of you. Thank you.
And that
Good
brings up
luck.
a question for me, though, is there are many memoirs that become fictionalized. The author, in fact, Alice Sebold, wrote The Lovely Bones based on her sexual trauma. And the whole scene there of her rape in the cornfield, you know, and her home is made up, but the trauma is real. And sometimes people choose to fictionalize their memoir because of these things. Other times people choose to fictionalize their memoir because the arc just isn't there. You know, they don't have the dramatic arc and they want to start making up things in their imagination and base their life story on their memoir. I mean, Linda, Joy, I want to know what you think about novel versus memoir when it is actually
anybody
a true
can
story.
Do it however they want. I mean, that's the reality. A memoir matters in the sense that we must make a contract with the truth, that with the reader, that we are writing our truth to the best of our ability. And does that mean you have to tell everything? No, please don't. I mean, you know, it's too much. We need to shape a story so the reader is able to receive it. Our first job, though, is to write it for ourselves and get our true story down on the page. That's the first job. And not worry about the reader. It'll be a few drafts away. The reader will never read your first draft or your fifth draft or your 10th draft, honestly. I mean, when we really get stuff ready for publication, we're in the 100 draft, not to scare anybody away. It's just a natural process, sort of like, when a painter paints a painting, they get all the stuff down first, and then they react to it, and then they paint more stuff, and then they take this part out, and then they add a thing over here. It's the same thing when you're writing a book. You're going to get some stuff down, you're going to do some things with it, you're going to stand back and look at it. You're going to work on it some more. It's a natural part of all creative processes. And so some people go, oh, that's so much work. Yeah, it is. But, if you're writing your memoir and you're engaged emotionally, you want to do it. I mean, you take a break, go on vacation, put the manuscript in the drawer for a month or something, but you want to do it and you want to make it as beautiful and as authentic as you possibly can. And so this is what it takes. And so most people need to give themselves permission to write the first 1 to 10 drafts and be safe and get positive, supportive feedback. Anybody writing about trauma, I've been teaching about trauma for 25 years because I've been a therapist for 40 years. And there are things to deal with, support needed. I'm not going to go into the whole thing now, but it is something that I teach and work with people about making it safe for them so that they're not overly traumatized by the trauma that they're writing about. So I'm wandering off in other directions here, but mostly it's about permission.
Mm. And it is about sharing in a safe space, which is why I have in our writing group, we sign an oath of confidentiality.
Yes.
What's said and read stays in the group. So these are your trusted partners. So that's moderated pretty heavily.
Mhm.
So that could help as well to just start sharing in the writing group.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you, Carla. You do a good job with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay,
Keep
thank you
posted,
again,
Esther.
Esther.
Keep us posted. Keep us
I will do.
posted. And
I will do that. Thanks.
if you want to join the group, it'd be lovely to have you.
Would, yeah.
Joy. Hi, Joy. There you go.
Sorry, my service dog is going crazy right now.
Oh,
Over there barking.
Oops.
But first of all, I wanted to know what the name of the writing group that you're talking about, Carla.
yeah. We'll talk
Yes,
about
in our upcoming Craft of Memoir, writing a successful memoir course and cohort that Linda Joy is teaching, and I'm moderating starting July 29th. There's a writing group, memoir authors writing group there that you all join together and share. So that will be part
So
of
you would have
that.
to be a part of that to be able to be in that group then.
Yes, for this group. I do have other groups that you might join. So check in with me about that as well. Are you writing a memoir?
Yes.
Yes.
And actually, one of the things I'm doing now is originally I was writing my memoir I was adopted and told from my my name that was changed. Now I've decided to use my original birth name as my pen name, and I made that decision. I too have twins that are adults, but they don't know the full story about their dad and I's divorce as far as physical abuse and stuff that had happened. But I already had talked to my ex-husband about it, and he knows it's going to be in there. But I just decided to use my pen name and change names because of my sister. I just don't trust her, that she would try to cause any kind of problems, even though she ran away at age 12. So she wasn't even in the house when a lot of the stuff going down with me happened.
Mhm.
But I just figured it'd be easier.
Yeah. Well, look into this cohort. It's super useful. It's at a very good price, and it includes a writing group where you can get started, meeting other writers in a safe spot, moderated, and develop your story at the same time.
I know you've written a lot, already. And so I think, and I don't know how much other feedback you've gotten in other groups and stuff, but the thing, I ran writing groups for, I don't know, many years in person and then somewhat online, but I'm really excited about the whole writing group experience, because people are bonded, and in a group when people are sharing their truths, there's something really important that happens. People witness each other and go, oh my goodness, that must have been amazing, or that must have been so painful, or things like that. And so, well, I've gone through something like that too, and this is how I wrote about it. Just that kind of exchange
Yeah.
is really powerful in a writing group. So it might give you some other kinds of feedback.
I also had another question. When you're interested in self-publishing, like I was looking on the Better Bureau, and there's some that are not, some publishers are not listed. Does
Yeah.
that make a difference? Like, should I be going off of that, or?
No. Talk to me about self-publishing, please, before you choose a custom publisher or a self-publishing service.
Okay.
Definitely talk to me. There are really bad actors out there.
Yep.
I'll also pop a video in of my interview with Victoria Strauss,
Yeah.
who runs Writers Beware, and she keeps track of all the bad actors too. But there are definitely good ways to publish and bad ways to publish. There's great self-publishing companies, custom publishing companies, hybrid publishing companies. What does that all mean, right? You should know. And especially the hybrid word is being overused. I had a client who I rescued from a author assistant who was calling herself a hybrid publisher. And she was just like publishing stuff on Amazon with Amazon ISBN. So yeah, it was like, what? You're not a publisher, you're an author assistant, VA, really, a virtual assistant. So please be careful, and I have a whole guide and all kinds of stuff online
She's
about
the
that.
publisher guru person. Carla's been doing this for 30 years around helping
20.
people. Well, seems like 30, 20. Here's her new book. Talk about your new book.
Well, this is a publishing workbook for independent authors. It's available now. I just wrote it to replace my humongous, all-encompassing self-publishing guide, because now we have QR codes. And so I can I created this write-in workbook. So it makes lists of the things you can do. And if there's more information to be had, you can just point your smartphone or your iPad or your whatever on the QR code and listen to a video, or go look at my blog or whatever. So it's a smaller package and it's got a lot of lists. So Joy, we need to connect for sure. So
I was going to say, because I have somebody that's interested in an author in my book, but I'm starting to feel uneasy about the situation. So I would like to reach out to you.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Good luck, Joy. Glad you asked all those questions.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Peter.
Peter, and just like to set up for the writing group, Peter and I have been in the same writing group for 4 years now. Yeah. And he's developed a whole memoir in that time. It's been an amazing journey.
Congratulations, Peter.
Well, can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. As this has gone on, I've got a lot of questions here. I'm not sure which one to pick out. But I think I'm going to start out with the one I'm confronted with right now. It's an ethical question. And two of the characters, the story's about myself and these two other kids when we take off to Jamaica for a summer when we were 17 in 1972. Unfortunately, later on in life, in their 30s, this was 20 years after, they both committed suicide. And I have submitted the book to some of my friends back in my hometown, and they are at odds with my using these guys as characters, even though I've changed their name. So I do know that the sister is apparently still with us, and she is apparently living in Portland. So I'm not sure what to do about this, whether I should proceed. It happened when we were all 17. I'm telling the story as it happened, the best I could. But now I'm kind of confronted with this ethical thing, because I literally had one of my readers, the one individual who did know all of us and did the same trip the following year, and we all grew up together. He was pretty upset,
Well,
and
did something
I'm curious how
happen?
to navigate.
Did something happen in Jamaica that people don't want you to talk about? I don't understand what the problem is. If you
Exactly.
feel.
Neither do I.
Oh,
I have to
Well,
say, I just think that I think you just have to do what you need to do and write what you want to write. It's your story, it's your perspective, and the people who are in it.
mhm.
I mean, some are dead, some are not, are okay with it, right? This guy wasn't in it in the book.
the guy that's not okay with it, yeah, he's
Yeah.
not in it.
Okay.
He was there.
Well, but they haven't articulated to you better than I just don't want you to write about my brother and that's it. I mean, I didn't like the way you wrote about him, or I didn't like what you said about him, or what did they give you any more than just don't do it?
Well, I have to get back to him a little bit more on this, but I'm just kind of confronted with how do I deal with this at this point in time? Because it also plays into the epilogue. I'm going to have to write an epilogue, and whether or not I include these guys, what happened in their life later on or not, is kind of looming, and whether or not I discuss that suicide component at all, because it's not in the book, it's not in the story. I didn't find out about it until years later, decades later. So.
Well,
That's
these boys, you were all boys together. This obviously has meaning to you, or you wouldn't be writing about them. They must have been important to you. Is that right?
Well, yeah, the whole story is about me and Brad Smith. We grew up together. He's my best friend from 6th grade on, and this adventure took place when we were 17. So,
I
and
agree with Carla.
he was a character, a total character. And I think maybe that's what they're responding to, because later in life,
Yeah.
he was a larger than life character. One of these people who would be the last you'd think who would do something like that.
Well, we have a few hands up here, but I would say to you, at the same thing Carla said. This story matters to you. You've written it. You want to complete it with the epilogue, and we all have to decide as memoir writers what stories we're going to stand behind and put in. And it's always something that people struggle with in different ways. But it comes down to you ultimately and your story and your book. And so I just think you need to lean on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter.
That.
Go,
Yeah.
Peter. Tell your story.
Will do.
Thank you. Chris, you have your hand up.
I do. Thank you. Thank you for offering this. I have a two-part question.
Whoops, you muted yourself.
My memoir is called Marriage, Mayhem, and Mysticism. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but we can hear most of what you're saying.
My memoir is called Marriage, Mysticism, Mayhem, and Mysticism. And the mysticism part has some channeling. So the one part of my question is, should I intersperse it where it's relevant, or should I have the channeling at the end?
Well, is it part of the
And the other part is, I'd love to pull and see if it's part of aspects of my life that happened during a mystical time period. So I'm just kind of curious, would people be interested in channeled messages?
Well,
I guess.
Chris, it sounds like if it's in the title of your book, it's one of the themes of the book. So presumably you're highly interested in it and it's part of your story. You did break up a little bit while you were asking your question, but if you're in some kind of transformative experience and you come upon channeling and you learn from it and you do it or whatever, engage in it, it seems like it's going to be part of an ongoing unfolding of your story. And if so, I wouldn't take it out and plop it somewhere else. I mean, if it happened, then you're going to react to it. It's going to be part of your development. So that's the way to think about, if we include something or not.
I'm remembering on the Right Minded podcast with Rick Warner and Grant Faulkner. Not too long ago, I'm scrolling through the episodes and I can't find it. There's a writer who's from South America, somewhere with big swath of, I don't know which country, but she was talking about how in her culture, ancestors and mysticism and kind of what we call unreality is very real, right? And I know that from my travels in Africa, their ancestors are there, they're there with them. And she talks about this. The memoir is about
Contreras, isn't it Contreras's memoir?
Yeah, yes, thank you. She had amnesia and she brings in the mystical. So you might look at that as a model.
We'll try to find the whole name of it, but
yeah, I'm trying to find the podcast.
I have the book in the other room.
It really kind of inspired me to put in sort of
there you go. Thank you.
Thanks.
That's it, Mariana. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I was inspired by it to put more dreamy or more inner.
It matters. I mean, people read a book, especially if you have channeling in the title, you have to assume they're interested in it or they wouldn't pick your book off the shelf. And the other thing is when we hold a strong interest that's emotionally relevant and resonant, it's going to come through in our writing, the importance of that thing. And people read a memoir to learn about things they don't know and experiences that are going to enlighten them in some way, so don't shrink back, don't worry about all those people, just stick with your story. And in the meantime, read other books that can give you support and ideas and, and just go for it, Chris.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Meredith Master.
Hi, Meredith.
Hi, I'm new here. Nice to meet you. And I have been traveling, so I missed the initial master class. And but I was listening and very interesting. You guys sound very knowledgeable. I have so many questions. All right, I'll go with this one. You mentioned narrative arc, and this is something I've been struggling with. I have written a collection of personal essays that I haven't done anything with because I just don't know that I could create a narrative arc per se. Anyway, so I stumbled into something called Save the Cat. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it.
I know it. I do.
Yeah.
All right, so that's about writing screenplays, but then I read Save the Cat writes a novel, and there's apparently a whole cottage industry. And then I read Kill the Dog. And horrible name aside, basically, with storytelling, I think basically there's a thesis, an antithesis, and then a synthesis generally, but how formulaic, I'm sure there's a fine line there somewhere and there's some subjectivity, but I don't know if I should use this as a guidepost to try to create a narrative arc because I don't know how I turn.
Well, I just want to say that narrative arcs are breaking up. Narrative arcs are being put to the test, and those sorts of questions are being asked right now. And so, for instance, my colleague and I, Brooke Warner, just taught a course called The Evolution of Memoir. We included people like Maggie Smith, who has written a fragmented memoir, but it's thematic and there's an ongoing story, but it's broken up into poetry, into single lines, into different frames. Abigail Thomas, she writes vignettes, each of which have some point, but she collects them together, and over time you see things change. You do see moments of change and transformation. So nothing needs to be formulaic. The structure you choose, maybe it would be braided, maybe it would be circular. There's all kinds of things going on in the world of structure these days that, you know, we can certainly talk about in a class if you're in there. But there's a book, I'll try to find the title and put it in the chat for you to look at, but it's about all the different ways you can create a story that has a lot of meaning without, if it's the narrative arc isn't your natural good feeling structure, still you can do something really, really interesting and have a good story that other people can get into.
If I may follow up, I'm not really so much interested in like a hybrid in terms of like, you know, essay, then poem, then whatever. It's more like I was kind of excited about the narrative arc formula because I felt like, oh, this gives me some structure to create basically plot.
Oh, so you
You know,
want structure. It sounded like you didn't want
Yeah.
structure.
Well, I gotta tell you,
I have no structure and I don't know, but
Okay.
it's like, it seems kind of cheesy to be like, okay,
No.
well, here's the theme on page 26, you
Well,
know?
yeah. What do you want to say, Carla, about
Oh,
that?
I just wanted to say that I'm, you know, managing this cohort this summer, fall, and I just put up Linda Joy's course lessons, and there's a lesson on that. There are actually 2 or 3 lessons that overlap on narrative arc and structure. And I also put the masterclass link, Meredith, in the chat, so you can go back and look at that, and you can get the turning points worksheet in that as well, which will help you with your narrative arc. And, you know, working with Linda is amazing because she's just I mean, how many books have you shepherded, you know, from writing to publication?
Quite a few.
And quite a few hundreds. Yeah. So the clarity in it is, I mean, just masterful. So I think you'll really
There's a way to work with
get
it.
a lot out of it. So thank you for your question.
I just say I'm blind. I lost my eyesight as an adult. Are
Oh.
these things accessible?
Mm.
I know a lot of
Oh,
craft books are not, like, they don't have the market to be on Audible. I don't know Braille because I lost it as an adult.
The course that we're doing is everything is recorded. So yes, you can hear everything that's presented in the course that I just recorded. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to read anything.
Thank you.
So
okay.
yeah, good luck with that.
Thanks, Meredith.
Some of those books are on Audible, but I
A
don't know.
lot are, yeah. And your recordings, I'm also including the written transcripts as well, but the recordings are in, you know, video, audio. So
Okay, great.
and I
Thanks.
just want to say that we have about 10 minutes left, and I think we're going to get through all the questions. Oops, I'm sorry, Marianne. I'm going to lower your hand and unspotlight you and get to Diane. There we go. Thank you. Hi, Diane.
Oh, Marianne is unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Did
Go
you
ahead.
want me or Marianne?
Marianne already went once. No, am I
No.
wrong? No,
No.
I'm sorry, Marianne. Oh, we'll get to you next. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Marianne. We're ready for you.
Are you saying Mary Ann or
Yes.
You, yes, Marianne.
Okay. Yeah, my question is about what constitutes previously published. I'm finishing up a memoir that is structured in about 40 individual essays. Now, many of them have been published in journals, but some of the essays in the manuscript I took from previous novels and short stories that were published, not self-published, published. Now, I took those sometimes it was a chapter, sometimes it was a short story. And rather than, I had fictionalized them, but these were events that did in fact happen. So I changed them to the first person, and I made other changes, of course, so that they would conform to the way things actually happen.
Marianne, what is your question though?
Is it a new
please?
piece?
My
now?
question is, what constitutes previously published? In
Right.
other words, as
Yeah.
I submit the manuscript now,
Yeah.
are those stories that I took from my novels
Mhm.
considered previously published?
It's a new version, correct? It's a whole new version.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
then
revised, yes.
it's not previously published in that form.
Okay,
So
okay. Now, there
it-
are like whole like paragraphs in a row that are identical.
I don't know. I mean, each publisher decides what they will accept and not accept, but it looks like if it's, you know, what, more than 60% new material. We can't answer for all these publishers you might be reaching out to, but if you have rewritten something and changed the she to I and changed this and changed that and changed the other thing and presented as memoir, I mean, it doesn't seem like it was previously published that way until it is published that way. So I think go with that as your guide.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Diane.
Hi, and thank you. So my question has to do with your thoughts on having poetry in your memoir. And I ask because I just finished my first edit of my memoir, which has to do with the care of my father with dementia during the pandemic. And so I've divided into 4 sections, and each section begins with a poem that I had written through that journey and an art piece that I had done. I had just got my first developmental edit done, and the person who did it didn't care for how, even though she liked my poetry, she doesn't like to read poetry with memoir. She
Right.
likes them separate.
There are
So I
people
would
like
love your thought.
there are people like that. And there are people who will like it. So, I mean, you know, the old rules used to be just make it a narrative memoir. Okay, those are fading fast. Look at Maggie Smith, look at Maggie Nelson, look at all these new forms that are coming. And you know, it's almost like your poem. I don't know how long it is, but it's almost like an epigraph, you know, and then you have an artistic, so you have art in there. And so it's not a traditional memoir in that sense. It's an expanded artistic memoir. And ultimately, it's yours. I don't know how you want to get it published. It may be hard to convince any traditionalist that that's okay, but you can listen to that or not listen to that. And doesn't sound like you really want to listen to that. So a lot's happening now. And ultimately, if you hold your book and you haven't included what you wanted to, how are you going to feel? You know?
You know, there is a market for this. Will you get back with me? Because I just saw a literary magazine. I think it's a pretty well-known one that actually wants art, poetry, and story.
Oh, great.
And Diane, you can email me and I'll put my email address in here. And so just ping me, and I think I can remember where I saw it.
Great.
Okay.
Good,
Thank
good,
you.
Carla.
Thank you so much.
You're
There are
welcome.
people who do want this kind of work, and it is happening more often.
And it is, oh, go ahead.
Well, it's just an artistic, you know, it's an artistic choice, and, you know, we need to go with that. Go ahead, Carla.
Yes, and I don't know if publishers or how many, you know, traditional publishers are looking for it, but it's quite easy to self-publish this stuff now too.
Yeah.
So you can talk to me about that one day when you're ready as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. In fact, there's a woman in my writing group that is doing a memoir with a lot of art. Her whole memoir is about art. So her
Great.
journey as an artist. So there you go.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you.
Fabulous. Okay.
We got through all the
Whew.
questions. Wow. Thank you for that. And I also just wanted to add is sometimes we run up against that in writing groups as well.
Mhm.
And so I have certainly done that. Luckily not in this present writing group, but there is a way to moderate that. I'm happy to stay on, or if you are, Linda Joy, but I did want for the people who have to go to pop in the craft of writing course information. I've gotten a few private messages about that, but I've put it in the chat
Yep.
a couple of times, and I just want to share the screen really quick so that you know the price and the dates and, you know, all of the details, and that there is a special price for $697 only until Monday at noon. Okay, so if you use coupon code IGNITE, you'll get all of Linda Joy's amazing videos and her live group coaching every Monday at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific time.
Somebody asked me about the price, and we know that money is hard, you know, and people can't always afford things, but both of us really wanted to offer something that is a whole lot less than our normal hourly fee in doing all of this. And so if you are able to do it, you get all the stuff that we do and all the coaching sessions that we have with people. And so you get all the stuff we've been talking about.
And also membership in the writing group so you can connect with each other, because you know, it's really important, I think, to share small pieces of writing with your writing group before you put it out to the rest of the world, really. And your writing group is your first line, you know, before the editor, and see how people feel about it. Oftentimes people are like, you can be braver, you know, put it all out there. Don't hold back, because the reader can tell when you're holding back.
Yeah.
So that's that. You can reach me by email to you at carla@carlaking.com, but go to this bit.ly craft-of-memoir, and happy to talk to you about it via email, or even get on the phone real quick to talk about it. But we hope that you join, because it is a bargain. And we just, you know, one-on-one is fun, but the group environment is just so rewarding for me.
The group, and I've been in groups and have run them for so long, and it's just absolutely life-changing to have a group. So yeah, yay. Okay, well, thank you all. Good luck to all of you with everything that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we are at 11:02, so we're going to stop. And if you all have any more questions, there are a couple more questions. Are you willing to stay on, Linda Joy?
Oh, okay. Quick questions.
Quick questions. All right.
Betty had your hand up first.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, who did?
Betty Patterson.
I'm not seeing Betty.
Okay.
I'm seeing Vicky.
Well, Betty, you just took your hand down.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Vicky.
Okay, Vicky.
quick.
Betty, you can put your hand back up again. Hi, Vicky. What's your
Hi,
question?
Thank you. You know, Monday at 10 a.m. will be a little bit of a conflict. Well, my grandson has swimming lessons, but I'm very interested in the class and wondered how much value it would be for me if I just watched the recordings. I'm looking for, you know, feedback from a group. I'm seeing the value. I mean, this was awesome. Thank you so much for this time. So question is, how much value is there with just the recordings for now?
Yeah, a lot.
Or is there, should I look for another writing group that would be more live?
Well, the group coaching by Linda Joy is at those hours, but the writing
Right.
group is ongoing. So it's just like whenever people put the, you know, their stories in or their scenes in. So you'll definitely.
It's framed with Google Docs and it's online, the writing group itself and the feedback. Right, Carla?
Yeah, or you can just put your scenes right in the group. You don't have to go off to Google Docs or anything. You can just put your stories or your scenes in, short pieces, and then people in the group can comment on that in the post itself.
So Carla, tell them it's a platform that holds the classroom.
mhm.
Is that correct? I mean, as I
It
understand.
is. I'm using the Circle platform. I've been looking at different platforms for a few years, and I'm really thrilled with this because you don't have to go to Facebook groups, right? Everything is in one place. Your class, your recordings, your discussion group, your comments, and all that. So it's all in one place. And it's even got an app, the Circle app, so that you can even
Wow.
get pinged when
Wow.
somebody puts a post up. Now, some people don't like to get pinged all the time, so you can, turn off the pings if you choose to use the mobile app as well. But it's amazing. I love it. I love not having to go out to Facebook groups.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I hope you join. It's a great connective space.
Right.
all
And
of
people are
us.
still writing. People are completed in the group. You're in the process of writing. I have a lot of chapters and don't know
Yeah,
how to
don't
put it
you work
together.
on honing the scenes and all of that,
Mhm.
Linda Joy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it needs to work for you. What do you want to work on? What do you want to get feedback on? And just tell people. And then if you have questions like, well, I really wonder about the dialogue conversation between these two people. Do you think it works? And it's really good to ask a direct question
I
too,
agree.
as well as ask for general feedback.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to revisit, but I appreciate all of you and this was wonderful. I
Excellent.
appreciated the
Glad you
community.
joined.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And Peter and Andy, both you've gone, but we'll take a quick question from each of you.
Okay,
Hey, Peter.
I have a quick one, and that is a lot of people a lot of questions about submitting chapters and then getting publishing deals afterwards, or what's appropriate. The question is, if I have 22 chapters, how many chapters can I submit to literary magazines and still be considered for a hybrid or a publishing deal or something like that? Where do they draw the line?
Well, it's a long question. I don't know. I mean, each of them decide, each publisher decides what they're willing to receive. And so if you read the fine print of a lot of these publishers, they might be telling you exactly what they're interested and not interested in. And so just know that sometimes if the whole piece is out there published in public, it will be just most of the time they'll decide it is published, and they have different rules. I can only give you a general answer right now.
I mean, that
Right.
said, Andy Weir wrote his whole book online, before it got published. So, it changes all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're self-publishing, it only means that you have more, a bigger platform and more people looking at it all the time.
Okay.
So, thanks, Peter.
Andy, real quick.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused about the writing group versus your course starting in July. Are they the same or?
Yeah, the writing group is part of the course, so open that link. I just now put it back down again. And the group coaching meetings are on certain days. The writing group cohort, the group that is writing together in this course, is also part of the course.
Okay, so the writing group doesn't continue past the end of the course.
It could continue. There'll be a small fee for it, but it could definitely continue for a while. Yeah, for as long as you'd like it to.
Okay, and you're talking about the $697 course. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, if you haven't been in a writing group before, or if you've been in a writing group that was unmoderated or was just concerned about accountability writing, like here we are, bring something, it is a good place to start. We really work on craft, and with Linda Joy's direction, each week we can submit a piece on turning points or on theme, or what are all the other topics that you
oh gosh.
they're all
characters, creating characters from real people,
dialogue
and dialogue, scenes, how to write a scene that really grabs people. Things that are ongoing, you know, how do you go from one place to another, using flashbacks, using memory. How do you decide which of those you choose to use? All these craft questions that are, you know, part of writing a story. Some people come from academia, some people come from different kind of writing, and so we're really digging deep into story in this course.
And if you already have your memoir done, then do you bring in new material? Do I bring in new material, or
Well,
can I?
Yeah, you can do anything you want. Yeah,
Okay.
you know, and if you have pieces that you have a question about just because it's done, are you through with the entire revision? Is it ready to publish, or do you want some feedback on some of those pieces?
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
All right. Let me know if you have any more questions, please. And Linda Joy, go look at those links, and we will email you with the recording of this as well, so you can look back on the questions and the chat.
Okay.
Great to see you all here. Thank you for joining with Faces.
Yeah,
Thank you
bye-bye.
very much.
Bye. Keep
Bye-bye.
writing, everybody.